You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. LSU opened up spring football on Thursday out at the LSU practice facility. Had a workout. They'll practice again on Friday. Then they'll take off all of next week and won't be back until the following Tuesday. Brian Kelly did explain why they've broken it up like this. Muse, can you play that one again? It's number 15. This is Brian Kelly explaining why they've stretched spring out the way they have.
So it allows us to kick into longer hours with the team. Once you go into spring ball, you're able to elongate the hours and have more contact time. So it allowed us more contact time with the team. And then it allows you to, elongate the schedule because you don't have to count these days that we're at break. We also have the Easter break where we don't have to count days. So it just allows us the ability to spend more time in terms of meeting and contact hours with our football team. So that's kind of the tactic, if you will, in terms of trying to spread it out over a longer period of time.
Makes sense. You're maximizing the spring practice days that you have by spreading them out over a longer time. So as we've gone, leading up to spring practice, we went through the things that we're watching, the spring storylines. And for me, look, there's some that are obvious, right? Don't get hurt, who's injured, who's coming back, newcomers. But I am looking at quarterback, and I am interested in quarterback this spring. I know what Brian Kelly has said. Jaden Daniels is the number one. He's the guy. He's the starter. There's no controversy. But whenever you're giving Garrett Nussmeier meaningful reps, it's hard to ignore that. When Garrett Nussmeier gets every third series in the bowl game, it's hard to ignore that. So I'm not saying that throughout spring there's going to be a controversy that arises. I'm just saying it's worth watching. So how much do we see Garrett Nussmeier get first-team reps? How do they divvy all that up? That is worth watching. Now, one thing is for certain. You've got Jaden Daniels, your returning starter. You got Garrett Nussmeier, who is certainly very capable. And you got Ricky Collins coming in, the freshman from Woodlawn. And Brian Kelly likes how his quarterback room looks right now.
Garrett was out there today, even after he's had some corrective surgery. He was out there competing, throwing the football. And, he'll probably be another week or so before he's full go and everything. But, yeah, I think he's excited and I think Collins, got a lot of work today. So we've got three quarterbacks that will get a lot of work in the spring. I think we're in a pretty good place.
Three quarterbacks, they're going to get a lot of work in the spring in a good place. That's interesting also about Nussmeier having a corrective surgery in the offseason, so they're still ramping him up a little bit as they move forward. Now, the obvious omission is Walker Howard, who transferred. So this is the first time Brian Kelly has spoken on the record about Walker's transfer since he announced that. Here was what Brian Kelly had to say about Walker Howard leaving.
Look, I mean, you're ready for everything. You want to do a great job of retention, and sometimes it's out of your hands.
I will go back to the comments Brian Kelly made after the bowl game, where he talked about Jaden, he talked about Garrett, and then it was in, oh, by the way, we also have Walker Howard too. And I'll reiterate it again. I think Brian Kelly genuinely believed that Walker would never leave for all the reasons that we all think. Legacy, kid from Louisiana, only wanted to play at LSU, all of that stuff. But looking at the possibility of back-to-back seasons on the scout team wasn't appealing to Walker, and he left. And so it's left you in a pinch, and it's left you in a spot where you can't afford now to see another quarterback, namely Garrett, leave. Because if he does, then you're sitting there with Jaden Daniels, and you're one turned ankle away from true freshman Ricky Collins being your guy, which is why I think it's very interesting how they divvy all this up. Now, as far as Ricky, this is an opportunity that they've got to maximize for him. And Brian Kelly talked about how they plan to utilize him here in spring with the early reps.
Certainly as a quarterback, you benefit greatly just coming in, learning the system. There's so much as a quarterback, as you can imagine, from just looking to the sideline and picking up the signals. It's foreign to many. Some of the signaling takes a while and the preparation of that. So just getting that down in itself. Then I would say, being coached and hearing a different voice is equally as important as you transition into, a new system. Coach Sloan is a great coach, but it's a different voice. And then finally, trying to put it together in quite frankly, a faster environment.
It's why for spring, I think the most value is for early enrollees or transfers, right? People coming for the first time or first-time starters. That's the value of spring. There's no value. It's why John Emery isn't out there right now. It's why Brian Kelly can say to John Emery, hey, just go focus on school. We know you can carry the ball and run the ball, and you know the offense and you're talented and all that stuff. We don't need you out here in spring. We need you to be available in the fall, so go take care of school. For the early enrollees, for the transfers, spring is an opportunity for them to understand cadence, reps, how things sound coming from the coaches, different terminology, just literally things like how you line up and stretch, all of those things, how a practice functions. So when you have to maximize that time in the fall, because you're facing a deadline, like when fall hits, you're a month away from the season opener, and you got to go. So spring is getting those guys up to speed, so when you hit fall, boom, you're sprinting. Ricky Collins is certainly in that number. The transfers who are here, the transfer cornerbacks, it matters very much for them. The early enrollees, the defensive linemen, like spring matters very, very much for those guys. Now, last year, year one, with Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock, we saw the offense continue to evolve as the season went along. Really, as the offensive line got better and as the running game became more established. Early in the season, it was offensive line was a sieve, Jaden take off and make something happen. As the offensive line steadied, the two freshmen went in and you kind of got your sea legs, we saw the offense evolve more into what it was going to become throughout October, early November. Bama was probably the pinnacle of that. The Florida game was obviously awesome as well. Here was Brian Kelly when he was asked about the evolution of the offense from year one to year two.
When you talk about offensive philosophy, there's a line to be drawn about how you look at each play. And, if you look at the NFL, right, I mean, there's so much focus and effort placed on the singular play in the NFL, right? There's the huddle, and then there's all kinds of motion, and then that play itself is just a full commitment to a singular play, and that's why they run less plays than college. College sometimes it's like, run, as many plays as you can. And so my philosophy and our philosophy is we still want that play to have the quality elements of striking on a wide front where it can hit everywhere. And it forces defenses to defend that play, and you have compliments off of it. So I think we look at the singular play more than anything else and evaluate it as such.
Brian Kelly wrapping up the first day of spring out at LSU as the Tigers getting ready for year two of the Brian Kelly era. Be fun to follow. Again, they will practice on Friday. No media availability, though, Friday. Then they're off all of next week, then back the following Tuesday on the practice field when we'll start to pick up with reports and a lot of the player interviews and coach interviews and all that stuff there. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.